What is trending in real estate and how it impacts Georgia?
Also, we're going to talk today about scammers. See, there's a lot of scammers out
Mhm.
there. And so, how can we protect our clients and ourselves from all
Absolutely.
these like listing scams and things?
And what agents love and hate about their career?
We're going to cover all these things today and much more in the Real Estate Backstory. We do this every week. My name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker here at Max One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
We want to jump right into like what's happening, some new trends. So NAR just did a study.
Study.
We're going to try that in English this time, and just a couple of things to kind of highlight to our real estate community here, because normally this report's like 700 pages long,
Yes.
kind of thing. We're just going to kind of boil it down for you. So the first thing is that when it comes to which
Generation makes more
yeah,
money,
thank you.
but they also buy the most expensive homes are Gen Xers.
Yeah, our Gen Xers are the ones that are really kind of jumping out there, and they're making more money, and they're buying our most expensive homes. So if you're dealing in luxury and that kind of stuff,
Gen Xers your target
yep,
market.
exactly. Next one is that our millennials are still our number one buyer. The largest buyer group is millennials. So I know a lot of folks are like, well, the boomers have had a lot of power, and they do have a lot of power. They're buying a lot of homes in cash, that kind of stuff. But still, the most prolific buyer
Are your
is millennials. Yeah,
millennials?
yep.
Okay. Now the boomer, however, dominate the seller side. So, and 45% of boomer is really our seller right now. And that's not really not surprising, as they have the longest tenure in home at an average of 19 years or more.
Yeah. Now, on the opposite side of the scale here, what's happening with first time buyers? First time buyers actually are back. And that's really kind of exciting to see, even though, we know that the market for first time buyers is tougher than it's been in the past. Affordability continues to be a big deal. However, first time buyers in 2020 or last year was 26%. Now they're 32%. So almost a third of our market are first time buyers. Now, at one point it hit almost 50%. So we're still not quite there yet, but first time buyers really are coming back heavily into our market here.
Absolutely. And now more homeowner has fewer children, about 28% of them. And so therefore, they're down 58% in 1985. Is a long-term trend that will impact demand for family-style home and school-focused communities. So
Well,
we'll
we've
see
been seeing
more.
that for years. Right now we have more buyers and sellers that have pets than have children, and that's a big change. That's a big one for us to get.
Or in the 55
Yeah,
older community, you'll see more of that
yep,
developed.
yep. Also, we're moving farther than we have in the past. It really shot up right when COVID hit. Then it dropped back down some. Now it's coming back up right now. The average distance moved nationwide is around 20 miles. So we're moving about 20 miles.
Correct.
Now, the only other thing that we want to kind of talk about is what's happening with real estate professionals in relation to how our buyers and sellers are feeling. And so, what we found to be really positive is that more people than ever are going to choose to use a real estate professional to assist them in buying and selling a home.
Well, there's so much misinformation on the internet to where homeowners sometimes, granted, they bought a house a long time ago. They have heard all these, things, just noises, what I call noises in the background. And they really, truly want to get the best price for their property, whether it's buying or selling. So therefore, they're listening to us, the pros in the business, to help and guide them.
Well, our relationships have changed with the way that we interact with our buyers and sellers. It used to be like back in the day
Hmm.
that like if you want to know how much your home was worth, you'd call me, and if you want to know what homes are on the market, you'd call Ming. And now it's like, well, gosh, what do you do now? Well, you go Google it, right? You
Oh,
hit up the
yeah.
internet. But if it's on the internet, it's true. No. And so our roles in the real estate transaction have changed to trusted advisor, guide, friend, educator. We are more needed than any time in the past. It still comes down to relationships, because I don't care if it's your first house or your fifth house, it's probably your most expensive asset. And do you just kind of be like, whatever, I'm just going to wing
No,
it?
you,
Most
you
folks
got to,
are going to
yeah.
want to have someone in their corner guiding and advising them throughout the entire transaction.
A little bit of good news. Mortgage is down a little bit percent, a little bit, and this is partially due to the tariffs that's being talked about, and the stock market is not doing
We're
so
not
hot
trying to get
either.
political
We're
here.
not.
That's not what it is. But this is just a reality that when the markets kind of go
A little wonky.
bonkers. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like right now, the markets are all over the place. There's all this talk of tariffs, and all everyone's using the R word and all this kind of stuff going back and forth. We're not going into any of that. What we're trying to say is it's actually good news for mortgage rates, and so we're kind of seeing mortgage rates
because the
moving in, much
investor,
closer into the mid
yeah,
sixes
the
right now.
investor wants to invest in something that's a little more stabilized.
Yeah. So while we're talking about what's kind of going on here in Georgia, we want to jump into like how things are really applying here in the state of Georgia. And so one thing that we've seen, if you compared overall home values this year versus last year,
In
so
February,
yeah, I mean just from one year to the next, you'll see that home values in Georgia are down 0.7%. Now we're not talking about earth-shattering amounts of down here by any means. Okay, it's less than a percent. However, it is really it's reality of what's going on now. We're also heading into the spring buying season right now. Summer season's coming up right now. I don't think that that's going to keep holding the way it is. But the reality is that right now that's a big deal at the moment. We are seeing where pricing is really
the king.
oh well,
Really, it
but
is.
it's kind of held steady right now. We're not seeing we're not seeing the big double digit property value appreciations that we saw in the mid 2020s, 2021, 2022. We're seeing in much more moderated. And so, we're going to be where we're going to be up 0.2% one month, down 0.21% of a one month, that kind of stuff. So it's really small movement. So we're just not seeing where value appreciation is moving around a lot. Now, all this is really coming from largely where a lot of our sellers are just not being realistic about price. And I get it. We own property too, and everyone wants to sell their home and make some money on it. I totally
Absolutely.
understand that. But when you price your home too high, it sits. Matter of fact, there's a recent study that came out and said that what you really have 3 weeks to get a full price offer.
Correct.
Um, Normally it's 2 weeks, but like somewhere in that 2 to 4 weeks range, that's how long you have to get a full price offer. Now, once you start sitting on the market for more than 4 weeks, well, now you have to take a 2% price reduction. And once you get up to 9 and 10 weeks, you got to take a 4% property reduction. If your home sits on on the market 16 weeks, so it's out there for what, 4 months, you're down. You're having to take a 6% reduction in order to be able to market and sell your home. So the idea that we're going to overprice homes, that's one of the things that's kind of hurting us right now. We are seeing more price cuts right now.
Absolutely. And right now, if you compare what was pre-pandemic price value versus current listing with price cut, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference in value.
Well, a lot of people are talking about the fact that we have so many more price cuts than we've had over the past few years, and that's true. If you compare the number of price cuts we had in 2021, 2022, 23, 24 versus where we're at right now, you'd think, man, that's really high. But if you look where we are compared
Hmm.
to 2017, 18, 19,
We're right
we're
there.
right in line, right
So,
in.
even though when you have a home in your neighborhood that might have sold higher during pandemic, you might want to rethink about what truly is in your home before you put that listing on the market because it may end up hurting you.
Now, for a lot of real estate agents, it's a very touchy place for us to be when we start talking about price, because on one hand, um, like we don't ever want our clients to feel like we are not in their corner, right? We don't want it
Correct.
to feel like we don't go in ever wanting to fight with a client, but we have to be honest to say this is what we see in the marketplace based on comparable sales and listings about what other buyers are willing to spend for a home similar to yours. And so when our sellers overprice their home, and it's the sellers that get to decide how much their home is out there, um, there's normally three ways that overpricing your home backfires in a really significant
One
way.
of it is a buyer won't even look at it. They'll see the price point. They're like, oh,
Nah,
out of my
bye, Felicia.
range.
Yeah.
Right. And the second, it could sit on market for too long. And once you're sitting on market for too long, remember there's also a price reduction to come with it.
Well, everyone starts to say, "Gosh, this house has been on the market so long. There has to be something wrong with it,"
Correct.
and so that's always a big one.
Or you might getting a lot less than you projected.
Well, and we unfortunately this is the one that we see because our sellers don't just take a price reduction. Well, when you have a property that sits on the market, you're still having to pay those mortgage bills, insurance, all these kind of things. So it tends to cost you about 1% a month to hold on to a property.
Correct.
And then once you start having to take price reductions, it's never just a price reduction, right? Because now it's a price reduction, and now, okay, we're going to make these repairs. Okay, we're going to offer closing costs. Okay, we're going to buy down the rate. Okay, we're going to do yeah, da, 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 da. And it really starts to add up so much significantly more than if they would have just listed the property the right price from the very beginning. Because now they're having to make up for all that time that the property has sat on the market and continue to just kind of eat our
Sit there.
shorts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like,
The holding costs can add up after a
yep.
time. So now it's interesting. I know a lot of us use Zillow and we use Zillow to gauge.
Well, it's
So
kind of a
how can
love
you
hate
tell?
relationship
Yeah, it
sometimes,
is.
as well it is. But yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you use Zillow to gauge how well your listing has been seen on the marketplace?
Well, I mean, like that's one thing that we really can do, and like I know as a real estate professional, I know several folks that are just not huge Zillow fans. But that being said, like you can this can be a resource for real estate professionals to
Correct.
use, and so Zillow Research has actually shared some pretty interesting data points, and we just kind of want to bring those up to kind of share with you guys too. And first one is that for listings that have at least 250 daily views, they'll reach pending status within a week, right? And 75% are going to sell within 2 weeks. So if your property gets 250 daily views,
Chances are
chances are it's
you're
shooting
very
up, right?
likable,
Right. Now, the number of people that saved a home, like when you have your listing, you can go in and look on your listings and
and
see
you can say the property you
see how,
want
well
or you like.
but as a listing agent you can see how many people have saved that property, right? And so the magic number of properties that when people save it was five. When five people a day save your property, it typically means that you're going to have an offer within a week. And so two really great data points. The other one is when those saves go up to 50 a day, well, at that point, you're going under contract almost immediately, right?
3 days, within three
Okay,
days.
well, pretty close.
Yeah.
So, these are data points that we can use to kind of help us. Now, a lot of times we got to go back full circle here, and that is we know that what's the number one reason why someone's going to share and save these properties because it's priced right. And so I know that it feels like this is kind of circular talk, but it is a good way to kind of gauge. We can also be able to use this to discuss with our sellers how it's showing up in the marketplace. Because when we list a property, we are listing it everywhere. At least I hope we are. And when we're marketing that property to everyone in every way, shape, and form, and the seller says, "Well, how come my home's not selling?" Well, I can show you on here. We're not getting enough views. We're not getting enough shares. We're not getting enough saves, and that's because we're priced too high. And that's unfortunately just kind of one of the normal things.
And
So,
sometimes, even though you have boost share listing and Zillow, and you may have a lot of save and viewing, still price
mhm.
is the sensitive subject for most of your buyers.
We want to change gears and speak to our real estate community here about how do you avoid listing scams. Right now, we've got, and we've been very blessed as a brokerage that we
Absolutely.
have not had a lot of these issues. But part of that is because we're really trying to stay on top about what's going on with listing scams. And honestly, it's not just us. Like even in like the new GAR purchase and sale, there's a new section C7, right, which talks about heightened identification
Yeah.
procedures to prevent fraud. So it's not just us, but we see a lot of fraud coming out, and the vast majority of these are vacant land scams, right? And so,
Or out of town owner, and sometimes how do they find you?
Well, but I mean, the vacant land scams. What really happens is they find someone that has a piece of vacant land,
Mhm.
and then they start acting like the seller. And so, for listing agents, when you get that seller who's like, "Hey, I'm out of town. I need to sell this." I mean, like our vacant land scammers are never local. You're not going to meet them face to face. They're going to have to do a mail away closing, right? And so, first thing you want to look at is how did they find you? Right? Is this a referral source that really is legit? Or it's like, oh, I just, most of the time it's going to be, I
I
found you.
Googled you
Yeah, I found you on
online.
the internet, that kind of stuff. If it's a personal referral, that's a really good thing to have. All right. Next thing is like, understand it is completely normal to ask for ID.
If
Please.
they rebuttal on that, just explain to them why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So like ask for their driver's license. Ask for a copy of their driver's license. Now, once you get it, is it fuzzy? Does it look like is it in black and white? Looks like it's been photocopied 30 times, that kind of stuff. Look, you can verify a driver's license. All you do is just go to the Googler, right? And you go and you Google like
Verify
yeah,
Georgia driver's
yeah,
license.
or verify whatever because it's never in the same state. So it could be
Correct.
verify
New York.
Texas, whatever that kind of stuff. And so in most cases, it's going to be the DMV for that state. You can put in the number, make sure it's legit. Some will show you who the people are. Some will just tell you if it's a good license number or not. You can also ask the seller for a copy of their warranty deed
Correct.
on there, and then cross check that with GSCCCA.
A.org.
Yeah, and so we're looking to see does the notary match or is the notary out of state? Is it a Georgia closing attorney or is it a closing attorney in another state? Comparing signatures, comparing dates, all these kind of things really are it's not that hard to kind of check that part
It's
out
not.
on
And
there.
if you are unsure, talk to your favorite attorney, closing
Mhm.
attorney, and ask them for
Yeah,
assistance.
ask your seller for a video call, right? Like will they jump on it? Because a lot of times, well, they want to do everything over text or email, and
Just
like
remember, even WhatsApp, you can do a video call on
yeah, yep.
those.
Now,
Okay.
and honestly, if they're a real owner, they will not mind.
No.
But if they're not the real owner, they're going to get aggressive with you.
Not only that, they'll give you excuses like, "My wife is sick. I'm a caregiver for her. We're in and out hospital. I don't have time for this."
Yeah, they'll get pushy. They'll
Or
threaten to pull the
yeah.
listing. Yeah,
So you have to figure out whether or not this client is worth your time. If not, then move on because a lot of scammer use these techniques to soften the agent's heart by saying that I'm having some medical issues or anything like that. So just be aware that while they try and play with your emotional string, you do need to do your due diligence and investigate, make sure this is the right seller for the
yeah.
property.
Now, if you do find out that this is a fake seller, try and identify who the real seller is and let them know because even though you may have identified them and now they're gone away, chances are they're going to try this with somebody else out there.
Correct.
So let reach out to the if you can find the true property owner, have them report this to the police, put their property. The other one is that we have our land and property and that kind of stuff in the gsccca.org fans site.
FANS.
And what that means is filing activity notification system. It just basically means that if anyone tries to file anything on that property,
You'll
you
get a
you get
notification.
notified. So now all this we've been talking about is if you're on the seller side. What if you're on the buyer side? And like the challenge here is if you got a fake seller and you go out and try and find some vacant land for your client and you go to do you do a perk test and you have a survey done
It's expensive.
please make sure that you talk to the listing agent as a buyer's agent and say, "Hey, this is a
Have you
piece of vacant
validated?
land, right? Like, do you know this seller? All the things that we just talked about, right? Did you get ID from them? Is this legit? Because I don't want because as a buyer's agent, there is no recourse for your buyer because at this point there's not really a seller on the other side, and
Correct.
and so please protect your clients whether it's on the listing side or the selling side or on the buyer side. So just make sure that we are looking out for our folks and protecting them. And yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about real estate career. A lot of us are NAR did a survey and it's state how long do you think you're going to be in business the next 5 years?
And so like this is one of those things that's pretty near and dear to our hearts. We are like for us, real estate is not a should we shouldn't we kind of thing. Like this is our life. Like we love what we do. We are like yeah, she's my ride and die, but we're ride and die with real estate too. Like everything we do is related around real estate. So we really care about the real estate community. We care about real estate agents
Absolutely.
so much, and so the question is like do you plan on being in business 5 years from now? And only 66% of agents, 2/3 of agents are like yes. I mean, about 10% are planning to retire. Another 5 or 6% don't know. Another 15% are like, well, we'll see what
Well, see what's happened
happens.
with my business, whether or not I have any leads or whether or not my business is viable.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of contingency there.
And so that 66% number, like it's actually down from where it was. Like in 2021, it was 73.
73%.
Yeah, and so we're seeing less people that are wanting to be inside our industry, and we love our industry, so like that's concerning for us. And now in the same survey, they said, you know what do you like about being a
Being
realtor?
my own entrepreneur
Yeah,
and
number one,
making my own decision and my own schedule.
and honestly, for what we've been in this business for a long time, and we see that as being a phenomenal advantage, but also one of the biggest challenges because we find that the people that treat their business like a business understand that you are a small business person and you work for yourself.
If you don't work for yourself,
Those folks do really well. The
you,
folks who think that they're just here and that they're going to work for their broker or they're going to do these kind of things, like that's just not how it works, right? You are an
no, it doesn't.
entrepreneur out there. And so that being said, 86% of folks say that's the number one thing why I want this because I'm an entrepreneur. So and we definitely are right along those way.
And some of them really, really enjoy helping people that is in transition, moving, selling, buying. It doesn't matter, but they enjoy
Well,
that
a lot of folks
relationship.
have that servant heart,
Yeah,
A lot of folks, third most common reason is that folks really enjoy the relationships. Like this is a relationship business. The vast majority of
it's a
us
friendship for lifetime,
are,
really.
are we get 80% of our business from people we know and people that know us. So this can be a very rewarding career when you're really highlighting the fact that it is all about relationships
Absolutely.
on here. So just loving real estate, that kind of stuff is the one. Now they also said,
The
hey,
negatives.
like what do you hate about real estate? What well, maybe hate's the wrong word, but what do you
Well,
dislike
yes.
about real estate?
Well, the unpredictability of the income,
That's number
because
one.
we are never guaranteed a sale until the funding has closed. So even though we could have multiple files impending and also ready to go, there's sometimes along the way it's not always you, it's outside forces that are making our file
Oh, I
not
mean,
as good. So
yeah,
therefore,
the lender could kill a deal, a home inspector could deal, a closing attorney could kill a deal, a buyer's parents can kill a deal. There's lots of
abs-
ways that real estate transactions
friends
can
that can kill a
die
deal.
a fiery death on
Right.
the vine here, kind of thing. But that being said, the unpredictability of income, we find that the biggest challenge is going back to the benefit of being an entrepreneur, right?
Absolutely.
You have to have that wherewithal or that accountability partner or a routine, a schedule. Because if you don't, if you are just working off the whims of the market and how things are going and how you're feeling, this is going to be a big challenge for you. Whereas if you start
You do have
following
to
a
have the
process and a
schedule.
system, yeah,
Yeah, the schedule and discipline. If you don't have that, real estate's probably not beneficial to you.
yeah. The number two biggest reason why folks don't like real estate.
They can't find a business or building customers. They don't know how to do it. Some folks are very type A. They can get tasks done just like this. But as far as when it comes to relationship, they do not know how to address that.
See, for most real estate folks, they overcomplicate things to a great deal, right? It comes down to relationships. It comes down to having conversations
Correct.
about real estate. We know hard and fast that one out of every 40 conversations about real estate will end in a transaction. So if you want to have more transactions, if you want to deal with more clients, I mean, like The more conversations you have, the more transactions that you will. Please don't overcomplicate this. Folks are always looking for the shiny penny
Oh,
and the different lead
absolutely.
sources and that kind of stuff. Look, go have conversations about real estate, and leads don't become a problem. Think about how many people are sitting in your phone right now that you
Uh,
could call and just talk to.
And honestly, it's I look at it when address a problem. I look at it. How can I solve that?
Yeah,
Okay, if you come with that kind of attitude, I can guarantee you'll solve the problem much quicker and address the fears of the clients. The other thing is that realtor do not like a real estate agent do not like dealing with other agents who are very unprofessional or rude.
rude,
In my
rude.
lifetime of dealing real estate, I think I've been cussed out once. And I told the other agents that unless you can speak professionally, please do not talk to me anymore.
Click.
So, and I see you can do everything by email at
Yep.
this point. So, but the thing is that a lot of people think that as a realtor, the amount of income after cost is significant because they're saying that we do that are unseen in the general public, that expenses we incurred for a transaction that never close. So, we make it up by the one that do close, but by the time you look at all the costs in a batch, it is quite expensive to
Well,
do a
it
business.
gets hard because only 3% of our market is actively engaged in buying and selling
Hmm.
real estate at any given time. And so if we are, I mean, and don't get me wrong, we're always looking for that 3%. But by the same token, in order to get the 3%, you have to reach out to the 100%
Correct.
of the folks
So
out
it's a
there.
lot of
And so
phone
you got to put a
calls.
lot of work forward that you may not get any return on financially in any way, shape, or form.
That's correct. So, what are some of the fear that the realtor has facing next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean,
What are
like
thoughts?
what are realtors worried about moving forward? And so the number one thing, kind of across the board, and I think that this is a really valid one, is affordability. They're worried about affordability. They care about their clients. They care about people being able to afford to buy those first homes and be first time buyers and those kind of things. Affordability continues to be a really, really big
A number
concern.
one concern, correct.
Yep. Number two concern, which we actually found a little bit odd, was ongoing lack of inventory.
I think in that sense is a lack of inventory for first time home buyer in the affordability
Oh, okay.
category.
I can
So
see that.
therefore I think the inventory is there right now. But
I mean, inventory is up almost 40%, 30 something percent over where we were just a year ago. We're still down from COVID, but from before COVID, but we are rapidly growing that way. So we are seeing a lot of inventory,
I
a lot
think
of
it's
headway made
about
on
I think
inventory.
it's
Yeah.
about inventory in the affordability
Yep.
category for the first time home buyer.
Now, number three that we found, or that people said, was declining compensation. And that one that we actually, that's the thing that I think
I,
it's a mindset. Compensation hasn't declined, right?
Compensation hasn't declined in dollar figure,
No, I
but
mean,
in
no, it's
percentage,
actually still the same.
I think
Yeah,
you
no, I'm telling you, it is still the same. As a matter of fact, compensation is up for homes under $500,000. Now, the only place where we see compensation being down is on those $1 million homes where the folks with the big with the high heels and who do those shows, that kind of stuff. Their compensation is down, and I don't care about that. That's fine. Real people,
really
I'm just being straight up, right? But overall, real estate compensation really isn't down, right? And now there are some folks that may be feeling it. I find that one of the biggest challenges are the folks who are treating their that have gone into like the recent changes from the NAR settlement and that kind of stuff, and they feel really salty about it,
hmm
and have decided I'm not going to do it that way. They may have some problems because you can do this the right way and come out smelling like roses on the other side here. So, the other thing that folks are really worried about, all the things going on with the DOJ lawsuits or the Department of Justice lawsuits, all these kind of things, this creates a lot of
anxiety.
anxiety. Yeah, but at the end of the day, is that really affecting you and your clients, your relationships, the time that you're
Now,
reaching out and talking to your, like all that, like I find that we end up spending so much time and energy
on the
just got
noises,
oh yeah, that's a great way to put
the
it. Yeah,
noises
yeah,
around us versus concentrating on
yeah,
what's ahead
yeah. If you just shove your fingers in your ears, go la 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 la, and just focus on
on the task
calling
at
out
hand.
and
Yep,
making relationships, you're gonna be
just fine.
yeah, bingo.
Okay. Now let's talk about FMLS. They did come up with, guess what? Transaction desk.
Transaction desk has been part of Georgia MLS, but now in the past we had Georgia MLS with transaction desk, FMLS with Remind. And there's been some folks that like, I don't want to learn it or I don't like Remind. I've heard both of them going. Now you're going to be able to use transaction desk in either platform. And so this is
Make it easier.
we just wanted to throw that out there. So look it up, check it out, those kind of things.
So if you'd like to get more real estate tips, idea, and tricks, please watch one of us down below in our One a Mastermind or catch any live CE training class at
Three W's.
www.mx 3Ws mx1training.com.
Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.